Welcome to True Tall Tales, when reality is stranger than fiction. My name is Sonny-Joe, and you're listening to TTT-True Tall Tales. Guys, new year 2025, new season, season 2. I'm back, I'm excited, I'm fresh. It is summer in Australia. Our summer's amazing at the moment, and it's good for just to start a new season. I feel refreshed, and it's just nice. And with all my 600 listeners out there, thank you so much. I see you, I hear you, I feel you. I don't know how I feel you, but thank you for staying tuned, and I hope that you enjoy this episode that I am recording right now. But thanks for staying loyal and tuning in, and hello to the new listeners as well. But basically, previous episodes, I did do an episode of that music festivals are dying in Australia, and the reason why it was happening. And, you know, I'm from the era of like Big Day Out and all those electronic festivals. Like my whole 20s was literally festivals. It's literally where all my money went. This is why I don't own a house in Australia, because I went to festivals, but at least I have memories. Anyway, so previously that happened. So when Laneway Festival was announced, I was very excited to get a ticket. It did sell out in a day, mind you, for anyone that didn't get a ticket. And as you know, Brat's summer is over, but Charlie XCX is sending off in style at Laneway's 20th anniversary. Once Laneway Festival was once a tiny Melbourne gig, Laneway is now a massive festival, one of the last standing, while others like Splendor in the Grass and Groove in the Moo keep folding. It's less indie discovery, more viral playlist, but hey, it's still here, still thriving, and still serving very online music moments. And basically this episode is about my true tall tale, how I went to Laneway Festival, which was at Centennial Park in Sydney, and I was so excited. I think it actually got moved. It wasn't originally there, it was somewhere else. And I always said, for anyone that lives in Sydney, I don't like saying the word hate. I dislike going to concerts, in Olympic Park, because it's so far away. Well, I know it's not really far, but it's still far. And the only way you can really get there is on the train, because even if you catch an Uber or a car or something like that, it just takes ages to get out of there. Anyone that's been there for a concert. But, you know, the concerts that you're seeing out there are people who are huge, like Taylor Swift, big people like that. It's where anyone that's selling out over like 45,000 people, that's where you're going for a concert. But my favorite venues are Enmore Theatre, literally my favorite. If you're not a tall person like me, I'm not short, you can always see the artist or the musician or the band, which I think is really cool, and that sounds amazing as well. Anyway, sidetrack. So back to Laneway Festival in Centennial Park, which is in the middle of Sydney on the way to Bondi, and it's a big field and it's great, and there's a lot of stages everywhere to go. So I love that it was there, very easy to get to, but that's another story, very hard to get out of for anyone that went. But anyway, so I went with a couple of friends, two of my besties, Dan the Man, the smiling man, and Grace, my little sidekick. And I haven't been to a festival in years, because as I said, they are dying in Australia, but maybe they're coming back now. Maybe Charlie XCX has revived that, because, you know, you can see all these people with, green shirts, green makeup, green clothes, fans. Like, it was really, really cool to see. And on the way to the festival, because I actually said the Brat album by Charlie XCX, very hard, I'm dyslexic, would probably be the most influential album of 2024. And I said, look, that's just my opinion. And I say that because you've got your pop music. Pop's very in right now. Pop's dominating the charts. Women are dominating the charts, which is great. And pop's in. But Charlie XCX album, I'm a late bloomer with Charlie XCX, can't even say it. And I listened to the Brat album when it came out, and it sounded very messy, a lot of sound and a lot going on, and I didn't get it at first. And then what I always do is, I always listen to something more than once. I listened to it, twice and 3 times, and then I got it, and I loved it. And it's just very like pop mixed with like hardcore electronic music, with a lot of layers to it. And I get why the younger generation loves it, and why the older generation is getting into it. It's very cool. It's a new type of sound, it's a new type of pop, and it's made airwaves around the world. with Brat. Anyone that knows it, seeing that font that says Brat and seeing that that green. I wouldn't even know what green to call that. Lime green? Yeah. Anyway, so we you're walking to this festival, Laneway Festival, and you just see everyone dressed up in green, and it was really cool to see, just seeing people come together for music, right? And that's what I love about music. It brings people together. You get to watch different artists at a festival. Anyway, cut the story short, as you know, that never happens for me, which is more of my famous line. Not that I have a famous podcast, because there's only 600 people listening, but that's all that I need. Even if I had a one listener, that would be fine. But so hello to all of you listening out there. But anyway, we go and we start walking there, and security's everywhere and stuff, and we're not young anymore, so it's not as if we're trying to sneak in drugs or anything, and security's there. But as we're walking, you can see all these younger people in their 20s, just kind of scratching their head, arguing I don't know what to do, and people walking up the hill and away from the festival. And I'm kind of what's going on here? It seems a bit weird. Usually to see everyone lining up and just going through the lines to get in, but there was a lot of people scattered around and looking confused, and walking up the grass and sitting on the hill, and everyone had their phones up in the air, and I thought people were just trying to take selfies or something. I just wasn't sure, but something was going on. Anyway, as you know, anyone that has their license now, or their over 18 card, it is in New South Wales anyway. It is digital on the New South Wales app, which is good because you don't really want to carry around a wallet anywhere. Makes it easier, and you open up the app on the New South Wales digital app, whatever it's called, and you would show your ID now, so you don't have to have a physical card for anyone that lives in New South Wales. They probably do this in other states, but I'm not sure. So anyway, as you know, there's 45,000 people at Laneway trying to get in, and when that happened, we went up to the security guard, me, Grace, and Dan as well, and he's like, IDs please, which is a compliment because we look older than definitely over 18. I have a beard, for fuck's sake. And I open up the app, and obviously it doesn't load, and I'm scratching my head because you can't get any internet or signal because there's 45,000 people congested in a small place. Now, I remember that happening back at the day at the festivals, but as I said, festivals have died out, and I forgot about that, where you try to call your friend and you couldn't get through. You try to send a text message says it sends, but they don't get it to 2 days later and stuff, and no one can find anyone, which I kind of like. That's why you make meeting points, right? If we get lost, let's meet at this stage at 3 p.m. If we get lost, let's meet at this burrito tent, you know what I mean? This white van, etc., etc. That's what we do. I assume other people do this because text messages never work and phones never work in a congested place when there's a lot of people, 45,000 people. So now the people that we saw walking in who were sitting on, scratching their heads with their phones in the air, that was us. And I'm like, fuck, Grace, Dan, this is so stressful. We can't get in. I just want to get into the festival, and there's no signal. And I was like, oh my God. So now we're trying to walk up the hill to get signal to kind of download our ID from the app, or bring it up so it comes up on the phone so we can hold it to show the security guard. And I was like, there is no way I'm walking all the way back up that hill, from our Uber to get my ID. So I was like, me being me, back in my clubbing days when I always speak to the bouncers and get all my friends into a club, that's always in the back of my pocket. I turned that on again. And I went up to the security guard and I was like, hey mate, how you going? And he's like, yeah, good. And I was like, look, sorry to bother you. I know you've got a busy day. But look, me and my two friends are trying to get in, and you're probably aware of this, right? But I can't get access because it's not letting me. And he's like, I know it's happening to everyone. It's actually, it's actually causing a lot of problems today, and it's very stressful for us because we're turning people away. And I was like, yeah, fair call. And I was like, look, that's my mate over there, Dan. He's got a beard, glasses, you know what I mean? He's 6'5", and that's Grace over there. And I'm like, look, we're definitely over 18. He's like, you know what? Just go in. I was like, guys, we're getting into the club. Come in. And they're like, oh, thanks, Sonny. I'm like, thanks so much, man. He's like, no problems. And he lets us in, and I get it. He could have just turned us away, and the ones he probably turned away probably did look not 18 or anything. He clearly knows we're over 18. So that was really nice of him. And I was like, yes. Dan says to me, you still got it, Sonny. You still got it in your blood. Always talking to those security guards to get into places. So I was like, okay, good. So we get in there. I'm like, let's get a beer. Anyway, so we go get a beer, and we go watch our first person. I think he was from the UK, called... Hemind or something Dan wanted to see him. It was like dubstep and stuff. And the festival was great. And look, one thing we noticed about the actually, reversed. Anyone that listens to my podcast as well, you know that I have ADHD. I know, like everyone has ADHD, but I'm an OG. And I do trail a little bit. So for the new listeners out there, you get used to it, or I'll try to get better, as long as it doesn't become annoying for you. But I want to bring it back. So what I wanted to say is how no one could get into the festival and no one can make calls and send text messages and show their ID, because when there's a lot of people, like 45,000 people congested in one area, it is now 2025. Like, I can't believe that that's still happening. Like, why haven't Telstra, Optus, I'm with AGL mobile phone, like, if that's a phone company, like, why can't these other people, like other phone companies that we're paying money to, why can't they fix these? Like, this should be fixed. Like, what if you need to make an emergency call or something like that? It's annoying, especially now that everything's gone digital. We should be able to use our phones when there's a lot of people congested in one area. It's very annoying that this happened to me 20 years ago, and it's annoying that it's happening now. And you know what I mean? Like, as time gets better, it's 2025. Like, if I can get AI and ask it to make Donald Trump have saggy tits, and it will create that for me within 5 seconds, I should be able to bloody, use my app to show ID to get into a music festival. You know what I mean? Like, it should be done, and it's not, and it's annoying, and I don't know how we can change it. This is from like when we do voting, or I don't know. Anyone send me a message, but it's just frustrating that we just have to pay for this money with phone companies, and we just have to accept that that's just the way that it is. Like, imagine a phone company saying, hey, buy our SIM card and you can use your phone at a music festival or at a concert or something. I'm telling you now, the new generation will buy that SIM card and stuff like that. Just for those times, for emergencies and stuff. You don't know what's going on. What if something happened to one of your family members and they couldn't get in contact with you and you're at this music festival? Like, you should be able to use your phone when there's a lot of people around. Anyway, now that I've got over that rant, let's go back to, so we get to the festival and it's fine and we're watching, and it was a very hot day. I didn't actually drink that much. I only had 2 beers, 1 Red Bull. So gross. I don't even drink Red Bull, but I think I had a cheeky draw of two draws of a joint of someone that we met there, maybe at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was like, oh, that might tire me out. I'll get a Red Bull. It's watermelon Red Bull as well. So it sold me out. Oh, I forgot to say, as soon as we got to the festival as well and I bought a beer, I'm such a water person. I was like, hey, could I buy 2 bottles of water? They're like, sorry, we've ran out. This is like in the afternoon at 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm like, already the festival's ran out of water. Like, that should also be illegal. Like, someone should prep for that. Like, water is a big thing. A, for hydration. B, for hydration. C, for all the bloody young people doing drugs there. They're obviously going to buy water. That's probably why they ran out. But just, stock up on that. It's a music festival of 45,000 people. How are you running out of water at 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon? Anyway, so then they had this free tap where it was so slow for the water to come out to get your water of people lining up, kind of like when you've done drugs and anyway, never mind. I was just trying to tell a joke there, but it didn't come out properly. But what's that? Oh, it's just lovely birds outside my window, just making really nice noises. lorikeets, I think they are. So anyway, I had 2 beers and I had 1 Red Bull, and I haven't had a Red Bull in ages, and it was watermelon, and I got excited about that, and I wanted that to wake me up. So then one thing we did notice at the festival, which was very well designed, Laneway Festival, thank you, such a beautiful festival. It was kind of divided, so think of like a yin and a yang, like that, kind of divided, not by black and white color, but just kind of divided. And one side of the festival was electronic music and everything like that, and all the older people. When I say older, I mean people maybe in their 30s and 40s and 50s and stuff, of artists that younger people may not know. And then on the other side was more people, which was young artists and stuff that we didn't know, and for the young generation, what are they called, Gen Z and stuff. So I thought that was really cool, and a very cool way to sell tickets, right? You got the younger generation and the older generation at the same festival. You divide it down the middle. If you want to cross over, you can. If you're not, you stay in your zone. Really, really cool layout. That's something that Dan and I noticed, and I thought that was really cool. Anyway, so then we go watch Barry Can't Swim, and who I have heard of recently, maybe in the last year. I think he's from Scotland, And, he plays live instruments, he sings, it's dance music. He was really cool. And we didn't, I'm older now. We don't really need to go to the front, but we got maybe in the middle, me, Grace, and Dan. And for anyone out there that's ever fainted before, I used to, I faint maybe once a year, maybe two max or something like that. And I've fainted since a young age, and I know when it's going to happen. For anyone that has fainted before or hasn't, you know it's going to happen, because if you stick your fingers in your ears, if you want to do that right now, stick both of your index fingers in your ears, you can kind of still hear, but it sounds muffled, and it's like a little bit deaf, but you can still hear your voice talking. That's the first thing that happens. And then the second thing that happens straight after that is your legs go jelly, where you just can't even stand them on anymore, and you just start walking and you just get weak. And then after that, I guess that's when you faint. And the most dangerous thing about fainting is that, I guess, if you've never fainted before and that happens, if you're walking downstairs and that happens, you'll roll down the stairs and break your neck or break a bone, or, if you're walking on the concrete and that happens and you don't know, you chip your tooth or something. It can just be very dangerous with fainting. So obviously I've fainted so much in the past. As soon as I get that deaf thing in my ear, I know it's going to happen. And then I'll just kind of crouch down and then lay on the ground, or if there's a chair or a bench or something like that. And then I tell people around me hey, someone help me, I'm going to faint. So that's how I knew it was going to happen. So we're standing in the crowd watching Barry Can't Swim, and Dan's there, Grace is there. I'm on my second beer now. I've had water, I've had a Red Bull, and just out of no, and it was packed where we were, but it wasn't like when you're on an airplane and it's thigh to thigh. You know what I mean? I hate that. I don't like the word hate. I dislike that, where someone's leg touches your leg and you can feel the skin to skin. I'm oh, this is so gross. It wasn't like that, where it's chest to chest, someone's bum's on my back or something like that. It wasn't. It was space in front of me to dance in front of me. There was space in front of me to dance behind me, left and right as well. And that's how I like it at a festival. And out of nowhere, I don't know, maybe it's 4:00 in the afternoon now, I got that deaf thing in my ear, and I turned to Grace and Dan, and I said, Dan, he goes, yeah. And I'm I'm going to faint. He goes, what? Are you serious? And I go, I'm going to faint. And then as soon as I said that, my legs went jelly, and then I just fainted, and that was it. And then I woke up and I had one eye open, and I just remember my face, I was kind of like a raggy doll. So my neck was raggy, and I remember, I think I opened one eye and my legs were dragging on the ground, and someone had both of my arms up, and I guess it was Grace in front of me and Dan behind me. And I heard Grace going, get the fuck out of my way, get out of my way. And obviously they're trying to get out of the middle of the festival. I've fainted, and as they're going through people, my head's raggy doll, and it's slapping all these random people in their back and hitting them and stuff. And Dan's holding me up, and then my legs are just dragging on the ground. And I realized, wow, I fainted. I've come to conscious now. I've got one eye open, but I couldn't use my legs or anything. And then they kind of got me out of the middle towards the side, and found a spot with grass, and plonked me down on the ground. And then I sat there, and then I just kept saying, I'm sorry. So they knew that I was conscious and stuff. And then I just remember all these water bottles just that they've gotten from people just being poured on my face, and someone was giving me water, and I was drinking it and stuff. And I sat there and I said, sorry, I've just fainted. No, you don't need to apologize. And I was fine, and I drank the water, and I wasn't fine. I was very overheated, and I don't know why it happened. Maybe it was claustrophobic. Maybe it was too hot in there. Maybe I didn't have enough water. I'm someone that drinks water all the time, so I'm not sure. So I think I was a little bit embarrassed that happened, but I'm glad it was daylight and not nighttime. And this was all happening during Barry Can't Swim. And I was okay, after this is going to be Charlie XCX, who's Grace wanted to watch, and I was going to watch that with her. And Dan was going to leave us and go to Bicep, which was in the older people's, side of the festival on the other side. And he really wanted to watch him. And I knew that. So in my mind, I was you need to get better, sonny-joe. You need to get better so you don't fuck up the festival. And Grace can watch Charlie XCX and Dan can watch Bicep. This is why they've come to this festival. Don't wreck it for them. And that was my mindset the whole time. So I was you need to punch through these. You need to punch through these. So I literally kind of pretended I was okay. Like, I've studied acting, so I could like turn it on. And I kind of got up. I'm like, I'm good now. And then like, Dan grabbed me and like stood me up, and then I was like holding on to him, and I had sunglasses on, so I don't think they could really see my eyes. And then I was just like standing like, I'm good. And then literally my eyes just rolled back into my head. I went deaf again, and then my legs went jelly, and I just collapsed and fell on the ground. And I was like, I fainted again. And I was like, oh my God, this is bad. And then once again as well, I opened up my eyes, and my face is bashing into people's things. I'm raggy doll. Grace is like, get the fuck out of my way. My friend's dying. Like, it was so dramatic. I could hear people saying, medics. And I was like, oh my God, this is so dramatic. I'm so embarrassed right now. Please, no one film me. So then they actually got me completely out of the crowd and everything. Now we're at a gate where there's like toilets. There's like a VIP stage behind us and stuff. I didn't know that Grace has gone to the VIP thing and saying like, I need water. The security's like, you've got the wrong wristband on. She's like, my friend has collapsed. We need to get him water. He goes, you can't come in here. And she's like, if you don't let me in here and he dies, you have to live with this for the rest of your day. I don't know why I'm doing an American accent, but it just makes it sound more dramatic. And, yeah, so then she got water, gave it back, and I was like, oh my God, this is actually so bad. And I remember sitting there. It was now like nighttime, so the sun's gone down. So I like literally don't even know how long I was out for. I know Charlie XCX was coming up next. I know Bicep was next on the other stage, and I was like, oh, like that was still going through my head. And I've actually never fainted that bad before, because I remember sitting on the grass and my shirt was completely like wet, so I must have sweated. And I remember I needed to go to the toilet as well, so I didn't need to go to the toilet. I didn't piss myself, but I think my body just juiced out any type of liquid that I had, and like, was trying to cool me down. And that's how sweat works, right? I know you guys know this, but I just learned this recently. And yeah, my whole back, like shirt, and I'm not a sweater, by the way, I never sweat, was just like drenched. Like you could just get it and like turn it, and just like all water would come out. And I was heated, and I drank all the water, and I was like, you need to get better, in my head. And then I remember looking up I was like, in my mind, I was like, Dan, go to Bicep. I'm fine. I'll wait here. I don't want you to miss out. Grace, you go to Charlie XCX. I don't want you to miss out. That's how I thought I was saying it to them. But apparently I was like, Dan, you go to Bicep. You go to Charlie XCX. Like, that's how I sound. Like, that's how like fucked I was. So, and I didn't know that. And then, so I think we were there for maybe 40 minutes, and then I had the water and I cooled down and stuff. And then I literally was like, okay, I need to get up just to show them that I'm okay. But so I got up, I had the water, and I stood there and I said, I'm fine now. And I had the glasses on. And as anyone knows, when you faint, you do feel completely fine afterwards. And I did feel better, but I felt very weak, like I couldn't dance. And then, they didn't want to leave me, and I kept convincing them. I was like, Dan, you go to Bicep. I'm with Grace. I'm honestly fine. I mean, I'm coherent. I'm talking to you. It's fine. Don't miss out. Grace is here. We're going to watch Charlie XX from this fence that we're at. And, they didn't want to leave, but I convinced him, and he went. And then I stayed with Grace, and we watched Charlie XCX. And it was great. The show was great. I wish, obviously, I didn't faint, because then we'd be in the middle of the crowd, and obviously it would have been better. But it was still great. She put on a good show. The only thing I can say is that anyone that went to the Sydney show at Laneway to watch Charlie XCX, the sound was really bad, and I hated that. And don't get me wrong, I thought maybe it could be me, because A, I fainted, and maybe my hearing's not there anymore. B, I am the type of guy that if I'm at your house watching TV, like, I've turned up the volume so much, like it's on like 63. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, I just hate watching something where you can't hear it and they're whispering. I'm like, what did they say? So yeah, I think it could have been louder, and I know it wasn't me, because I heard people behind me going, I can't hear it. It's so annoying. So I don't know. I'm not a sound guy, but I always think like when they do, rehearsals, or even if she's played the first or second song, they should have someone in the back where we are and stuff to see if you can hear it. And if you can't hear it, then they turn it up. Like, isn't that what they do? But they didn't, and the sound was really bad, and I felt bad for her. But it was, the good thing about it is, because this influential album of Brat has gotten so big, the whole crowd was singing every song lyric by lyric with all their green shirts, all dressed up, which builds such a beautiful community. And, you know, Grace was on my side and she was singing along with them and loving it. And it made me really happy, and it made me get out of like I was about to say get out of my coma. I wasn't in a coma, I just fainted, and I was fine again, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad I came back to life for that. And yeah, that was my true tall tale about going to Laneway Festival and fainting not once but twice. And the best statement of the whole day was, because it happened at Barry Can't Swim, I also said that anyone that's seen, like, I'm a big fan of like Michael Jackson. My family grew up with Michael Jackson, but anyone that's seen any Michael Jackson, look it up on YouTube, Budapest and stuff, him playing. Like, people who go to Michael Jackson concerts, they pay all this money, right? Like, God knows how much they pay. They line up for hours like they did for Charlie XCX. Her fans were there from like 8 in the morning or whenever they opened the festival. And I don't know how they went to the toilet, but just so they could get front row. So anyone that watches Michael Jackson on YouTube, he just pops out of the stage, hasn't even sung yet. He's just standing there and he's got his sunglasses on. Anyone that knows Michael Jackson, and everyone's like, Michael, I love you, Michael. And they're grabbing their hair and they're just fainting. And all these people at his concert, they're literally just fainting, carrying out. Medics are coming. They're on hospital beds and getting taken away in an ambulance and stuff. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, you're like, when in my life have I experienced, because I haven't yet, have I experienced a performer, and it could be anything, it could be comedy, it could be a musician or something where, and it's so normal that this happened to Michael Jackson, where it's so crazy that I'm like convulsing and like ripping out my hair and screaming, that seeing him, and he hasn't even sung yet, for the first time, and then it's just too much for my body, that my body convulses, that I faint. I always thought, who would that be? And it's just so funny that it happened for Barry Can't Swim, that I fainted not once but twice. And then Dan said to me, Barry can't swim, Sonny can't stand. Anyway, I think you had to be there, but it was really funny when he said it. I hope you're laughing now. Dan's probably listening to this episode, so he's probably laughing. And he's like, it is true, I am laughing. He's not Indian or Asian. I don't know why I put that accent on for him. He would be laughing even higher now. I know that man very well. Oh my God, my laugh then just sounded like Michael Jackson. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. But all in all, thank you, Laneway Festival, for bringing festivals back. I would love more festivals to come back to Australia, because it's such a community. It's a great way for musicians to get their music out there, have an income, buy their merch. It's difficult. I think I'm not a musician, but I've got a lot of friends who are musicians, and it's difficult to be a musician these days. You're not making money off your album sales, or because everything went digital and stuff. So live music is the only way they can make music, and buying their merch and supporting them, and obviously buying their music as well. It does help, but I'm saying it's not as if it's the olden days in the 90s or 80s and 70s where you buy a physical album and they're getting money from that. But all in all, thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. Before I go, I just wanted to say, like, has anyone else had like one of those, like a chair in your room or something, or in your house, where you put like your jumper on it or your shirt on it or something, and then it turns into like literally a whole pile for a week that's been there, where it's just like another cupboard that's turned into, now the chair's not there anymore, it's just all your clothes on it, dirty clothes that clean, then you've put hats on it and stuff. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. We've all got it, and it's just hilarious that we do that. And I am a very clean freak, to anyone that knows me. But in my studio, I've just moved recently, but in my studio I had these like, not Christmas lights, but like fancy, when you go to a restaurant, they have those big globe lights. So they are like fairy lights, I guess fairy lights, but fancy ones. And the globes are really big, not like small, like Christmas lights. I had those divided in my lounge room in my studio, and they were low lighting, and they just look really nice to have on. Very therapeutic when I was watching TV with a lamp on. I don't like having lights on the roof. For anyone that does that, I just think that's like so 7-Eleven, as in like 7-Eleven, the convenience store. Anyway, I had those, but they obviously half of them fell down, because when you have those sticky things on the wall, that just came off the wall, and half of the lights were like hanging down really, really low, but not touching the ground, to a point that if I walked from my kitchen to my lounge room, I had to like duck underneath it to get to the other side, because the lights were in the way. I kid you not, I'm not even making this up. Obviously, a normal person would just buy another sticky thing and get that fixed. I let that hang there and ducked underneath it for 1 year. For 1 fucking year. Who does that? Like, for someone who's such a clean freak and cleans all the time, and I have OCDs and all these things, I let those Christmas lights hang there for 1 year without getting it fixed and ducked underneath it for 1 year. There's been nights when I've gone to the toilet and I ran into it. I'm like, fuck, like a spider web. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know why I'm telling you that. I'm just like, it's just so crazy how we do things like that. If there's anything that you can relate to that you've done something like that in your house, please reach out, send me a comment on Instagram, or reach out to me. Anyway, it's been a while. This is the first episode for 2025. Welcome back to season 2. If you want to be on the show with a true tall tale that you've got on, or you just want to speak to me and hang out, dude, reach out, send me an email. Love to chat to you. As you can tell, I love to chat. But if you've enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it around to someone that would enjoy it as well. And let's support live music in Australia and festivals, please. Anyone in the arts, and let's just be good to everyone and just be happy. I know that's like so cliche, but it's easier to be happy than it is to be angry. My name's Sonny-Joe. You're listening to True Tall Tales. I will speak to you soon. Peace out.